Hello, you beautiful people who came out in the rain. It's such perfect. I mean, I'm so glad, in a way, it's like a washing clean of what to me is like a whole new era in my life that we'll get to in a little while. Most of you know that I was in Italy earlier, well, last month now. Time and space don't mean anything to me anymore. When I went to Italy, I had no idea ever what day it was or what time it was. And there wasn't even a clock in the room. And then when I came back, it just kept right on. So I just really have no idea about time and space really anymore that much. So it was actually last month that I was there. But today, you're going to want to jot this down, those of you who are jotter downers. Our talk this morning is no order of difficulty. And that comes directly from A Course in Miracles and the very beginning of A Course in Miracles. So it's almost the very first thing you read. First you'll read the preface, and then the very first thing is the 15 meanings of miracles. And the first one, number one, is there is no order of difficulty in miracles. I just want to say that for an hour. Just to sort of see if it will penetrate. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not bigger or harder than another. All expressions of love are maximal. The way that Abraham Hicks says that is that it is as easy for the universe to create a castle as a button. It is as easy for the universe to create a castle as a button. So one of the main reasons why that would be the first thing that you would need to know about miracles or manifestation or demonstration is because we project onto life difficulty and particularly time. So that when we think of most anything that we want to create, we think in terms of time. How much time it's going to take. It's going to take this much time. And we think it's going to take more time than something that we think is more simple. So that's just bullshit. It's absolutely not the case. It's not necessary that things take time. In fact, later on, not that far along in the Course, it says, and this is the voice of Jesus or the Christ saying, I assure you time and space are under my control. So we want to release the idea of difficulty in anything, as well as the idea of things taking time. Are you willing to just consider that? And are you willing to police yourself on it? To really begin to watch how you speak about things and think about things in terms of how hard something is going to be, how long it's going to take, because this falls under the category of arguing for your limitations. It also falls under the category of arguing for the limitations of others. So, this is very big stuff. To just make that shift into the idea that it doesn't matter if it takes time, but it doesn't have to take time. So I want you to understand that we're not saying that if it takes time that something is wrong with that. What we're saying is we want you to let go of the belief that things have to take time. That doesn't really matter how much time it takes. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. It's not like, oh, you're a better person if it doesn't take as long. But we just want to keep questioning our stressful thoughts and our limiting beliefs so that we can release them, if you want to. Or you can choose to keep them. You say, I love this limiting belief. Because people do. People will defend to the death sometimes their limiting beliefs. There's something in the Course that basically says, it's not this exactly, but it says there are people who would literally rather die than change. Would rather die than change. But A Course in Miracles also says learning is change. So that's for all of you who may possibly be resistant to change. I don't know if that's anyone here who's resistant to change, you know, especially around technology. right? Or maybe they stop making your favorite something. Oh, don't you hate that? You try to hoard it in case they stop making it. So part of as I was driving down here today, it's so wonderful how, you know how when the Holy Spirit just gets on your ass? I love that, because then, like, you have real opportunity to grow. And I'm very open now to growing. I'm much softer now because I have what A Course in Miracles calls the comfort of my own teaching. There's a line in the Course that says, one day you will have the comfort of your own teaching. And I've never made any bones about the fact that I'm here talking to myself. That's always what I'm doing. And I'm always saying the thing that my inner being knows I need to move into. So we've talked so much in these last months about this willingness to change, that if we are not willing to change, this is all pointless. In fact, one of the things that I was telling my groups in LA that I've been reminding us is, anytime in the Bible where it says, they were a stiff-necked people who hardened their hearts, it's like, look the fuck out. Because the next thing is going to be calamity. Just anywhere in the Bible where it says, they hardened their hearts, they were a stiff-necked people, disaster is the next chapter. So anytime, what does it mean to be stiff-necked? You can't look around and have other viewpoints, right? It just means, right? You cannot, there's just that immobility of seeing other viewpoints. There's never been a time on earth when it's been more necessary, if you want any kind of peace of mind, to consider other viewpoints. In case you haven't noticed, the Muggles have lost their shit. The Muggles have lost their fucking shit out there. It's a bloodbath of insanity, right? So, it doesn't do you any good to become more stubborn in situations like that. What you've got to do is become more relaxed. That's the great Tao. You've got to soften, right? Because it's, you know, the Tao uses so many metaphors, so certainly talks about a tree, you know, like a young sapling blows in the wind, the storms come, so and such, but when you become rigid and hard, unbending, unyielding, that's when you're going to crack and break. So we want to be in a state where we are not letting the fact that we've been on the planet a while help us to validate being stubborn and stiff-necked and hard-hearted. Because it's not going to hurt anybody else. It's just going to hurt us. It's not going to stop anybody around us. It's just going to stop us. So the ability to just, who the fuck cares what they say? Right? That you don't have to react to everything everyone says, and you don't have to have the last word. You don't have to get your 2 cents in. Let me educate you, right? That you can be soft and open. You can maintain an open heart and a supple neck. This allows you to grow and see more life, see more possibilities. One of the lessons in the Course in Miracles is, I am under no laws but God's. I'm under no laws but God's. But that's only if you are really living by principle. If you're living as one of the Muggles, you're under the Muggles' laws. The Muggles' laws are horrific because they're all about aging and limitation and the color of your skin and your sexuality and your education or lack of education or where you live or all of those things. Those are all the Muggles' laws. But if you know yourself as a daughter of God, if you know yourself as a son of God, then you're under no laws but God's. You're not under the laws of genetics or anything you inherit from what you were taught as a child, that you're under none of these laws. That's freedom. That's limitless living. That's how we want to live. We want to live in that realm which is beyond the realm of appearances. Okay? So, does everybody want? Does that sound good to you? Or does it sound like, oh, fuck no, I'm not changing? Anybody? Like, I'm not changing, I'm going to leave now, okay? Before we get too deeply into this. All right, so let's just go whole hog right into this. First with this little book, The Master Key System by Charles Haanel, which is from like 1912. It's a very, very old book. You know I love the old dead authors. And this was actually written as a series, I believe, of letters that went out to his students over a period of time, and then he turned it into a book. And this quote, that I remember hearing this like a million years ago and not knowing where it was from, and it so stuck in my consciousness that when I got the book and found it, I was so excited. And now this is what I want to be the ground of being from here on in, from anyone who's coming to these seminars. Are you ready to hear it? Abundance is a natural law of the universe. The evidence of this law is conclusive. We see it on every hand. This is the sentence now. Everything, everywhere, nature is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. Nowhere is economy observed in any created thing. If you get nothing else out of this, I want you to get these three horrifying words. They're horrifying to the muggles. They're so joyous to the spirit because you know it to be true, that nature is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. Lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. What does that mean? It means that nature will just drop 10 million apples to rot on the ground. Nature doesn't conserve anything. Nature is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. That means that's the most spiritual thing that you can be. That will horrify some of you. The most spiritual thing you can be is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. Did you get that? Lavish, wasteful, and extravagant is what your source is. Your source is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. So, that means your nature is to be lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. But I want you to think of that in terms of energy. The energy, your energy, is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. There's no need for you to conserve anything energetic. Think in terms of being lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. I hope this haunts you for the whole month of just those three words going around in your head all the time. Lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. Lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. Because now the next one, well, I'm going to read the rest of this to you, but that's the most important part. Profusion is manifested in everything. The millions and millions of trees and flowers and plants and animals and the vast scheme of reproduction where the process of creating and recreating is forever going on all indicates the lavishness with which nature has made provision for man. That there is an abundance for everyone is evident, but that many fail to participate in this abundance is also evident. They have not yet come into a realization of the universality of all substance, and that mind is the active principle whereby we are related to the things we desire. See, we know that the universe continually is expanding. The universe is not running out of stuff. Everything just keeps expanding, expanding, expanding. Now, this is one of those talks, though, where you have to look and say, I either believe this shit or I don't. So I care nothing about psychology whatsoever. I think it's probably one of the worst things that's ever happened to mankind. So I don't care anything about your fucking psychology. I'm talking about pure spirit. That's all I give a fuck about. That's all I care about is source energy. Your psychology will fuck you up with this stuff. That's why the more people study psychology, the less they're able to make this stuff work, because they've got complicated reasons why they can't. Okay? So if we're living in that realm of source energy flowing through us is limitless, lavish, wasteful, and extravagant, then what you start to understand is that what you're working with is not spending and receiving, not paying and getting, and not even giving and receiving. See, this is what I just got this week. This is the next word you're going to want to write the fuck down. I've heard this word for a million years. First time I really heard this said, where it meant something to me, was Edwene Gaines in The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, where she says, there's only two energy systems that are operating in the universe: circulation and congestion. That's all there is. That's the only energy systems there are, circulation and congestion. Congestion is disease, dis-ease, illness. So whatever is congested is experiencing some kind of illness. So if energy is not moving, it will be illness in your body. If it's not moving in your relationship, it will be a sickness in the relationship. If it's not moving in your finances, it will be a sickness in your finances. That's all there is. There's just circulation of energy or the congestion of energy, the movement of energy or the stopping of energy, okay? So when I got that from Edwene Gaines, I was like, wow, that's good. Because the more you learn about this stuff, the more you realize it's the simplest thing in the world. It doesn't take much to get this. It's whether you will allow it to be simple. Course in Miracles says simplicity is very difficult for twisted minds. So you have to be willing to let it be simple. Then, how many people know who Reverend Ike is? Okay, so Reverend Ike was an African-American preacher who was really mostly in the 70s and 80s that he was sort of really famous. And in fact, I heard Reverend Ike speak at Terry's church once. He came and guest spoke at Terry's church. But I'd never heard him say this until I saw a video of him recently where he talked about this affirmation. I hope all of this is really upsetting to you. Because you could tell if it's upsetting you that it's working. It's hitting that spot. The chemicalization starts to happen. It gets into those hardened beliefs, those old, let's not forget, this is a country that was started by Puritans. So it's getting all that old puritanical thinking. It will start to hit that, and it will start to dissolve that, all that old thinking. So this is Reverend Ike affirmation. I continuously circulate increasingly massive amounts of money, wisely and with ease. I continually circulate increasingly massive amounts of money. Now, that word circulate, this is what he defined it. I never really thought of it before. Circulate means returns to the point of origin. Circulate means returns to the point of origin. See, I thought the most spiritual thing was giving and receiving. But really, that's still, we've talked about this recently, how we had taught for a long time about this getting into the receptive mode and how that was still victim consciousness. Because you're still waiting for something out there to give you something. It still isn't assuming your actual God beingness. Circulating, what's circulating right now? Your blood. Is it leaving your body and coming back? No, it's circulating, right? It's circulating. It is, there's really no place where it starts and ends, but even if you found a starting point, it just would continue to come right back to that starting point. If your blood isn't circulating, guess what? You're in trouble. So this idea of circulating, you might want to smile, might make you feel better. You might feel a little bit better if you just had a nice little smile. Get yourself in the mood of being here. If you circulate something, it hasn't ever left you. It hasn't ever left you. If you are one with the universe, there's nowhere for it to go anyhow. That's why every attack thought, who experiences it? You do. Every limitation thought, who experiences it? You do. It's circulating within your beingness, within your own beingness. So we want to start to think, this is why it's interesting. I've known this a long time, and I've seen it a million times. I've never talked about it in class, but as soon as someone, I've never seen it not be true, but it probably is not always true. I'd say it's a good 90-some% of the time. Anytime I've seen someone try to reduce their expenses to be more abundant, they have simultaneously reduced their income. Oh, I'm scared. I'm going to reduce my outflow. They almost immediately reduce their inflow. Their hours are reduced at work. They're fired. The price of something else goes up, right? I have a friend who, I was talking about this just the other day, which made me think, I need to talk about this in class so people stop doing this, because it just is an ego thing. As you get into fear, and then you think, well, I will just outflow less. So I have a friend who basically hasn't paid rent in like 5 years, but she can barely get by. She reduced all of her expenses by moving to this place where she doesn't pay any rent. But then what that did was it fucked everything else up. So all of her clients that she was going to have didn't want to come there. It was too far for her to drive. So gradually it just trickled, 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 trickled. Every time we think, I've got to stop giving out so much so that I can receive more, is like saying, I'm going to exhale less so I can inhale more. Doesn't work. That's why nature is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. It just keeps pouring out more because it just keeps circulating back. So even though it seems like it's wasteful, every fucking thing is recycled. So even all of those apples that are falling on the ground and rotting, the earth is just receiving them. The energy is just going back around again, back around again, back around again, back around again. So every time we get afraid and start to make ourselves small, we're starting a momentum of less. Less everything. Less love, less joy, less peace, less aliveness, less everything. So again, everything is about stop hoarding, stop scrimping and scratching up. My dad used to say, I'm going to try and scratch up some money. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't know what that means. Scratch up some money. But he always could. If he needed to scratch up some money, he could. But he would wait. Why do we wait? See, this is about not waiting anymore. This is about living every day. Living every day, not in emergencies. There's a great, I'm not going to read this whole story, but there's a great story in here, in this Neville, where this woman talks about, well, I am going to read this because I do want to talk about the idea that it's about catching a mood. What we're trying to do is catch a mood. It's much more a feeling than it is a thought. The thoughts are only there to provide the feeling and the mood. That's the only reason we use affirmations or treatment. The words themselves have no power if they don't make you feel something. What we're using the words for is to create the feeling, the mood of something. So basically what we're trying to do is just get into the joy mode. I'm calling this whole spring series because I started my spring series 2 weeks ago, even though it's not spring yet. Are called Jacob's Keys to Outrageous Joy. Jacob's Keys to Outrageous Joy. And why it's outrageous is because it's not tied to anything of the world. That the outrageousness of it, it's outrageous to be joyful over fucking nothing. That you're joyful just because you want to feel joyful. Not because this happened, or you got that, or so-and-so went. You're just joyful because you fucking decided to be joyful. That's outrageous to the muggles. How can you be joyful when that's happening over there? Have you noticed how comedians aren't funny anymore? They just stand and bitch for 2 hours? I used to love stand-up. Stand-up isn't funny anymore. It's just bitter people who are mentally ill, because most of them are now, mentally ill, just bitching and griping and complaining. They're not bringing joy anymore. So what we're trying to do is catch a mood. So we want words that help us catch the mood. Start to choose words that help you catch the mood you want to be in. That's why I love those words. Lavish and extravagant. That creates a nice mood, right? We're going to go to a lavish, extravagant lunch, right? Right? We're going to go to a lunch and eat Melba toast. That doesn't sound joyful, right? I had a lot of joyful meals in Italy, I'll tell you that. I just went from pasta to pasta to pasta to pasta to pasta to pasta to pasta. And lost 3 pounds. Eating pasta and drinking wine. Had more wine than I ever have, had more pasta than I ever had. Okay, moods. So first he starts with a quote by Winston Churchill. This is an age in which the mood decides the fortune of people rather than the fortunes deciding the mood. So the mood comes first. The mood comes first. We're waiting for something to happen to put us in a mood. That's not the way it works. The mood, we want the mood to be the thing that creates our life. Then this is Neville Goddard. Men regard their moods far too much as effects and not sufficiently as causes. Moods are imaginal activities without which no creation is possible. We say that we are happy because we've achieved our goal. We do not realize that the process works equally well in the reverse direction, that we shall achieve our goal because we have assumed the happy feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, of course, this goes perfectly in line with the Edwin Gaines story that we tell all the time about olives with almonds in them. If you don't know that story, get the book. But it's getting yourself in the mood. For her in that situation was getting yourself in the mood of feeling like I'm in Mexico City with my friend drinking wine, we're on vacation. A vacation she had no money for, no way to know how she was going to do it, but she had to first get in the mood of I'm already there, it's already happening. Right, her practitioner said the reason you're not abundant is because you don't feel abundant. And until you feel abundant, abundance cannot come. You have to get in the mood first. All right. Moods are not only the result of the conditions of our life, they are also the causes of those conditions. In the psychology of emotions, Professor Ribot writes, an idea which is only an idea produces nothing and does nothing. It only acts if it is felt, if it is accompanied by an affective state, if it awakens tendencies, that is to say, motor elements. Now, let me just warn you, now a warning, let me warn you that what we used to think in these kinds of seminars and things, was that meant getting excited about something, and it doesn't. In fact, that's almost the opposite to what you want to feel. Much more what you want to feel is calm delight. If it feels very exciting to you, it usually means you're not a vibrational match to it. It's still out of range of where you are. It should feel natural. Here's a new affirmation for you. My dreams keep coming true. It is natural for my dreams to come true. Don't get excited about your dreams coming true. It means you're not a vibrational match to them. Don't you feel like the things in your life feel ordinary to you? I mean, not that you don't appreciate them, but they feel ordinary to you. That's what you want all that you're good to feel like, ordinary. Like, of course I have $1 million, why wouldn't I? Of course Brad Pitt keeps calling, why wouldn't he? You understand what I'm saying? You are a match to it when it seems normal to you. Of course my body's healthy all the time, why wouldn't it be? Of course I love myself, what's not to love? It should feel natural to you, like calm delight. If you're feeling real excited about it, it means in a way you're rejecting it, because you're saying this is unnatural. This is not normal, this is unnatural. That's why most people who win the lottery end up losing it all and worse off than before. It's too exciting, they can't hold it, they don't have the mental equivalency of it. If you have the mental equivalent of something, it feels normal to you. You're like, of course I'm in a relationship, I'm always in a relationship. When my mate died, I met the next one at the funeral. I know people like that, right? They don't even get excited about it. It's like, of course. Yes, I was a widow for 2 days. Right? You understand? It's calm, it's what you expect. It's what you believe. It seems natural to you. That's really the mood you want to be in, the mood of joyous appreciation and acceptance of course things go well for me. Things always work out for me. Things don't work out very well for me. You want to be in that kind of a consciousness. That means you're a match to that you're not shocked and surprised, right? The lady in the following story so successfully felt the feeling of her wish fulfilled, she made her mood the character of the night frozen in a delightful dream. Okay, I'm going to read this whole thing. I've read it 1,000,000 times, so I'm going to read it again. So this is a letter this woman wrote to Neville about her demonstration. Most of us read and love fairy tales, but we all know that stories of improbable riches and good fortune are for the delight of the very young. But are they? I want to tell you of something unbelievably wonderful that happened to me through the power of my imagination, and I am not young in years. We live in an age which believes in neither fable nor magic, and yet everything I could possibly want in my wildest daydreams was given to me by the simple use of what you teach, that imagining creates reality, and that feeling is the secret of imagining. So this was probably written in like 1970 or something like that. At the time this wonderful thing happened to me, I was out of a job and had no family to fall back upon for support. I needed just about everything. To find a decent job, I needed a car to look for it. And though I had a car, it was so worn out, it was ready to fall apart. I was behind in my rent. I had no proper clothes to seek a job, and today it is no fun for a woman of 55 to apply for a job of any kind. My bank account was almost depleted, and there was no friend to whom I could turn. But I had been attending your lectures for almost a year. My desperation forced me to put my imagination to the test. Now wait a fucking minute. Did you just get that? I was coming for a year and then decided to try what you teach. This is what I was talking about earlier. It's like sitting in these rooms isn't doing jack shit for you. It's just killing a couple of fucking hours. It's not doing anything until you get out the door. That's when it either is going to work or not work based on whether you are practicing it or not. So I can talk about all these things forever and ever and ever, but it's that thing of like, why do you wait till we're desperate to scratch up some money? Why aren't you manifesting it every day? Why do you have to wait for some need to manifest shit? Right? Oh, I came for a year, just sitting here listening to your ridiculous theories until I got so fucking desperate that I thought I have nothing to lose. I might as well try this thing that I've been paying for every week for a fucking year. So, we wanted to have this be every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. What are we doing? Tending to our vibration. That's all we're doing. We're tending to our vibration. Every day our work is just cleaning up our vibration. Am I thinking with limits? Or am I thinking infinite possibilities of my source? Write this down. Probably your main work in all of this is, number one, to know your source. Know your source. We need to be in the state where we are no longer trusting God and we are no longer trusting our source because we know our source. There's a huge difference. So I always tell the story about Gloria, the movie Gloria with Jenna Rollins. If you've never seen that, you absolutely fucking have to see that movie. You have to. You just have to. It's just the most fabulous. It's just a fabulous fucking movie. And it's New York in the 70s when New York is grimy and crime-filled, and Jenna Rollins plays basically a gangster's ex-girlfriend who gets out of jail in the very beginning of the movie because she goes to jail for basically shit that he has done. She kind of takes the fall, and now she's free, and she wants no part of that life anymore. But she ends up sort of saddled with this little kid who her ex-boyfriend, the gangster, has his people go and kill this kid's whole family, and he witnesses it and gets away. So now they're chasing this little kid to try to kill him. And Gloria, who doesn't want anything to do with him, ends up saddled with him. And she keeps telling him to get lost, and he won't. He's this little Puerto Rican kid who is just fucking hilarious. And his voice, you just have to, it's the funniest. It's so good. But so he's running around with her, and they're staying in all these seedy motels and stuff to try to get away. So finally she ends up going to meet with her ex-boyfriend, Tony, and to try to just say, let us go. The kid's not going to say anything. And, you're really going to kill this little kid. So she goes to his apartment, but she has a gun. She's shooting people all through this fucking movie, by the way. And she's standing there, like, with her gun. He knows she has a gun. She knows he has a gun. And he's like, sit down, Gloria. Wait, you got a gun? What? You don't trust me? And she says, trust you, Tony. I know you. That's how we want to know source. If you know somebody, you don't have to trust them because you know them. You understand? You have to trust somebody if you don't really know them, if you're not sure about what they're capable of or what their character is. But if you know somebody, then you know them. You know that you don't have to trust them. You know their character. You know if you can trust them with your kid or trust them with your money or trust them with whatever. It's not really trust because you know them. We don't want to trust God anymore. That means we're still not spending enough time with God. You know how you know someone? You spend time with them. I say all the time, I know a lot about Cher. I could tell you all kinds of shit about Cher. What she likes to eat, what kind of clothes she wears, what kind of furniture she likes, what she sang in this year, what she sang in that year. I know a lot about Cher, but I don't fucking know Cher. There are a lot of people who talk about God who don't know God at all. They can tell you a lot about God that they read in books. God is this, God is vengeful, God is punishing, God is. But they don't know God. They've just read about someone's idea of God. So, know your source. Only have one source. Write that the fuck down. Do not have multiple sources. You can have multiple streams through which source moves, but don't have more than one source. That means you can't have, my husband is also my source sometimes. My children are sometimes my source. My boss is sometimes my source. The government is sometimes my source. If anything other than source is your source, you're afraid. When you're afraid, you have made something other than God your source. That's a guarantee. Absolutely. If you are experiencing any fear at all, Course in Miracles says you are leaning on your own strength or the strength of something out here, right? Okay. So after a year, she thought, what the fuck? I have nothing to lose. Indeed, I had nothing to lose. It was natural for me, I suppose, to begin by imagining myself having everything I needed. But I needed so many things, and in such short order, that I found myself exhausted when I finally got through the list, and by that time I was so nervous I could not sleep. Metaphysicians will do this. You're trying to picture everything. So you're just thinking, right? This is the danger of metaphysics, is you go from being a human doing to a metaphysician thinking. It's just as fucking exhausting. It is just as exhausting to think, as it is to work. Take no thought. This is the good news of today. You can stop thinking. You can stop thinking. Stop so much fucking thinking. Stop trying to figure shit out. If it could be figured out, you would have figured it out by now. Stop trying to figure shit out. Take no thought. Get in a mood. Just think enough to get in the mood. Just enough thoughts to get to joy. Just enough thoughts to get to peace. That's all. That's all the thought you need. Take no thought. One lecture night, I heard you tell of an artist who captured the feeling, or the word as you called it, of "isn't it wonderful" in his personal experience. I began to apply this idea to my case. Instead of thinking of and imagining every article I needed, I tried to capture the feeling that something wonderful was happening to me, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. I would say over and over to myself as I fell asleep, "Isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now." And as I fell asleep, I would feel the way I would expect to feel under such circumstances. So that was just her phrase that got her in the feeling, the mood. The mood of everything's okay. So whatever word or phrase that you would use to get you in that mood is it. So we've talked a lot about our friend who her main affirmation is, "Everything always works out for me." And then after a while, she added to it, "easy peasy." So that puts her in the mood. So when things are overwhelming, and she had a lot of overwhelming shit. She's the one we talked about. Her husband had dementia and was dying, and her son was schizophrenic and out on the streets and homeless and all the shit, and she would just go to that. Because it was too overwhelming to think it all through, or even to have like a big long prayer treatment. She would just go to, "Everything always works out well for me, easy peasy." And it would put her in the mood of, "I'm not doing it. Source is handling it all. The source is handling it all." Then she could stop thinking about it and strategizing about it and worrying about it and trying to figure shit out. It got her in the mood, the peaceful, open mood. And then things would happen, like it would just manifest. It would manifest as a match to the mood. Things kept working out for her, easy peasy. All right? I repeated that imaginary action and feeling for 2 months, night after night. 2 months. Not a weekend. Don't be fucking sloppy and lazy. I did it for 3 nights and I forgot for a month. Okay, so put a note on your fucking pillow so that you won't forget that when you lay down, you're capturing the mood, whatever the mood is. And you keep it up, and you keep it up, and you keep it up. Why? Because it feels good. And nothing's more important than that you feel good. That's another affirmation. Nothing is more important than that I feel good. Because when I'm feeling good, I'm manifesting good. When I'm feeling good, I'm manifesting good. When I'm feeling joyful, I'm manifesting joyful experiences, and I'm a match to joyful people. When you're depressed, guess what? No one's coming to cheer you up. You know, when you're depressed, you want someone to cheer you up. No one's coming. You're not a match to cheerful people. It's your job to cheer you up. That's Norman Cousins, right? When he had cancer and he just started watching all those old comedies to heal himself. He's like, I'm going to have to get myself in a mode where I'm not studying illness. We've got to stop being an expert on the problem. Stop studying the problem. It makes you a vibrational match to the problem. One day in early October, I met a casual friend I hadn't seen for months who informed me he was about to leave on a trip to New York. I had lived in New York many years ago, and we talked of the city a few moments and then parted. I completely forgot the incident. 1 month later to the day, this man called at my apartment and simply handed me a certified check in my name for $2,500. Now, this would have been $1970. After I got over the initial shock of seeing my name on a check for so much money, the story that unfolded seemed to me like a dream. It concerned a friend I had not seen or heard from in more than 25 years. This friend of my past, I now learned, had become extremely wealthy in those 25 years. Our mutual acquaintance who had brought the check to me had met him quite by accident during the trip to New York last month. During their conversation, they spoke of me, and for reasons I was not to know, for to this day I've not heard from him personally and have never attempted to contact him. Another life lesson: don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Take the fucking check and cash it. Make no contact. They know where you are. They need to know, they'll find you. This old friend decided to share a portion of his great wealth with me. For the next 2 years from the office of his attorney, I received monthly checks so generous in amount, they not only covered every necessary requirement of daily living, but left much over for the lovely things of life: a car, clothes, a spacious apartment, and best of all, no need to earn my daily bread. See, you don't think at 55 that someone's going to adopt you. But if you are in the mood of, isn't it wonderful, lots can happen. For the next 2 years, this came. Then this past month, I received a letter and some legal papers to be signed, which provide the continuation of this monthly income for the rest of my natural life. What do you say to that? That's for me. That's for me. Good for her. That's for me. Right? You align yourself with that. You say, good for that person. That's for me. What's possible for one is possible for any. So you use these stories as ways to say, I am not going to study limitation anymore. I'm not going to keep building up evidence for life being hard. But I have to remain open. I have to remain open. Okay. Here's my new daily intention. I will say it once, and then I'll say it slower so that you can write it down if you want to. But I think I might have posted it on Facebook. I surrender to God's fabulously joyous, prosperous, sexy will for me. Now, where that comes from is, A Course in Miracles says, God's will for us is perfect happiness. And I've had a history, which probably a lot of people have, of surrendering to God's will when my way has not worked. So I've done something through self-will. Some self-initiated self-will plan that was basically, a plan about how I'm going to cover my ass and make sure I'm okay and strategize to make sure everything's the way that I want it to be. And then when it doesn't work and it ends up being worse than it was before I started, which is usually what happens, then I will surrender to God's will. But the assumption that I had for many, many years because of my Catholic upbringing was that God was austere. So God's will would be perfectly peaceful and lovely, but certainly not fun. right? And there's not a lot of religions or spiritualities who say, well, God's will is about fun. Like it's usually about, it'll be peaceful. Like it'll be, it'll be calm and peaceful, no cheap drama. So as I've entered this new phase of my life, where so much of the old way of thinking is gone, I realized that it was not a compromise. There it is. But that God's will for perfect happiness. See, the human will is for imperfect happiness because it's always based on something out here. Right? Our happiness is based on, well, my body is healthy, therefore I'm happy. But I can't be sick and happy. Right? Or I have this month's rent and I have enough saved for if I lose my job. So because I can't be low on funds and be happy. Or I'm getting along with everybody in my family. Okay, but perfect happiness is you can be happy just like this outrageous joy, no matter what the fuck's going on. Right? You can be laying in a hospital bed and still have God's will for your perfect happiness, because your happiness isn't based on, you're living a much bigger life than that. You're like, oh yeah, well this body's going to go one way or another anyhow. It's just the end of the body, it's not the end of me. Birth is not the beginning, it's a continuation. Death is not the end, it's a continuation. It's just another chapter in the eternality, right? So once I really started to see, oh, you know what? God's will for my perfect happiness always turns out so much better than my initial plan, and it includes all of that other stuff, so it must be a joyous, happy, sexy, prosperous will. Right? If source is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant, then how could the will of God be anything but prosperous, life-affirming, joyous, sexy, fun, 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 right? Fun, fun. We're supposed to have fun. It's supposed to be fun. Life's supposed to be fun. Are you having fun? When you're having fun, you're in the will of God. Right? Why would God create something and then hate it? I'm going to create people and then punish them. Does that make any sense to anyone? I'm going to make people and then make them live within a very narrow frame of joy. Right? No, in a lavish, extravagant, wasteful universe, it's like, what else do you want? More, 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 more. What if you made $1 million a day? What if you made $1 million? What if you had an income of $1 million a day? Just wrap your mind around that for a second. Just wrap your mind around the idea that you have an income, a minimum income of $1 million a day, $365 million a year. What the fuck are you going to do with that? I hope you're going to have some fucking fun. Right? First of all, you'd run out of shit to do for yourself in a short period of time. So then what would you do? You start giving that shit away, which would be even more fun. After you have all your stuff, then you'd be like, well, look at those people over there. Let's make their day fun. Right? Let's go over that school over there that doesn't have a computer room and doesn't have bathrooms that work. Let's go in there and just pour fucking money into that place. How fun would that be? How fun would that be to just go, I wonder how many people I could feed this year? How fucking fun would that be? But if you're like, I'll try to scratch up some money. Right? That tiny little... Right? But if you just get in that place, energy, I'm just going to keep circulating. But I am a vessel for which energy just circulates through me in vast, lavish amounts. That's that whole Reverend Ike thing, right? I continuously circulate increasingly massive amounts of money. That's so fun. The one that I have on my bulletin board is I continuously circulate increasingly amounts of love, light, and joy. Because I used to think that I had to guard that. Like, I'm afraid if I give out too much energy, I'm going to get exhausted. Because I used to think in terms of channeling energy. You don't want to channel energy because then it's just going out. You want to circulate it. I'm circulating energy. I'm circulating. It's never really, it's just like my blood is circulating through my body, right? If you're channeling something, it would be like you're donating blood to someone. You're channeling it to them, so you're having less as they're having more. Now, yes, you will recreate it in time, but you'll be down, you'll be tired, you will have to take care of yourself. Not if you're circulating. When you're circulating, it's never really leaving you. It's a continual just flow. You don't say, I'm so exhausted from exhaling that tomorrow I'm just going to only inhale. It'd be ridiculous. You couldn't. It's insane. All right? Okay. I'm so excited to be here. I couldn't wait to hear what I had to say. Okay. Because here is, I want to give, this is finally a fabulous example of something I've talked about for years and years and years and years. That's not, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this a million times. When we strategize, instead of turning to source as our source, and knowing that everything is circulating from the source within us, and that's all we need to look at. We just look at source. We don't look at people, places, and situations. We just turn to the source. We don't trust the source. We know the source. I know my source. Not worried. I know my source. When we're still living in the realm of trying to figure shit out because we don't really know our source, then we have strategies, self-initiated plans. I'm going to go to school to get this degree because then I will have this much money to da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to blah, 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 blah. Now, one of the things that I've said that's outrageous, just like when I say, people who try to reduce their expenses end up reducing their income. This is outrageous too, is anytime you try to find something to take care of you so that you won't have to work so hard, when it happens, you will work twice as hard as if you had just done it yourself. This is the great lie of marriage. Women who are basically bred to believe that they need a man, which is entirely different than wanting a man. Completely different energy stream, completely different consciousness. End up working twice as hard being married as they would, that's even not, it's like 3 or 4 times as hard, as if they were just single doing it themselves. So, it's very hard to wake people up from that, though, who really buy into that and love that thing of my soulmate and my prince and my blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's so thick, that delusion. But does anybody know who Wong is? Anybody? Wong is this fucking hilarious woman who, she does stand up, but I've seen her she's on American Housewife, if you ever watch that. She's one of the girlfriends of the lead of American Housewife. So she's this Asian American who is just so politically incorrect and vulgar and inappropriate, which is my wheelhouse. This is like right up my fucking alley. And so she also writes for Fresh Off the Boat. which is the show about the Asian Americans who have their own business. But she does stand-up. So I saw this stand-up that she did. I just watched it the other day on Netflix, but she did it a couple of years ago because she probably wouldn't be able to do it now in the politically correct times that we're living in. But she's 7.5 months pregnant. And her whole story that she starts from the very beginning is basically about how she trapped her husband. That she was dating really loser skateboard guys, and she goes to this party, and she meets this guy who's also Asian American, who's like tall and handsome, and he's in Harvard Business School. And she's like, I gotta trap this guy. This is it. This is what I want, because her whole premise is that feminists have ruined the world. Because she said everything was great, and the feminists ruined everything because before feminism, we didn't have to work. You could just stay home. She said, that's all I want to do is just stay home. That's my whole goal in life, is to just stay home. Why has feminism ruined our joy? So, in fact, she talks about the woman, I can't remember who she worked for, but the woman whose book was Lean In, for women in business, about lean in. And she said, fuck leaning in, I want to lay down. Don't want to lean into anything. I just want to lay down, watch soap operas, and eat bonbons. So I saw this guy. I'm like, that's it. I got to trap this guy and get him to marry me, because this is it. This is my ticket to staying home. So, like, one of the first things she says is from the minute she met him, she said, I made him lunch every day. And my friends are like, you know, what are you doing? What are you making? She said, I need him to be dependent on me. I went right away for him to start being dependent on me. So she had like this whole strategy of just continually like reeling him in more and more and more. And so they've been together, they're married now for like a year or something like that. But she was saying it's a big year in my life because I just got married this year and I'm obviously pregnant. And so the story, the whole hour thing is basically that whole arc of a story of her continually moving more towards, I'm going to be able to stop working and I have a whole bottle of water here. Yeah. This whole arc of a story of I have a whole plan about how I'm going to get him to support me. So they move in together, they're living together, they're da-da-da-da. So finally, she says, now, we're just now buying our first home together. And she says, we're doing all the paperwork, and I find out that he is $70,000 in debt. She said, which I took all of my TV writing money and paid off with one check. And then realized, he trapped me! He got me. I'm the one. Now, that's why I'm doing stand-up at 7.5 months pregnant. Right? That the whole strategy that the ego mind has of how it's going to get something, this is why we always say a get mentality is not a receptive mentality. If you are trying to get from the universe will get from you. All of our plans to get abundance gets abundance from us. That we have to let go of all of that strategizing to just know our source. We're not trying to get anything. And we're not trying to get rid of anything. We live in a universe which is a source which is lavish, extravagant, and wasteful. All of our needs are taken care of if we relax into it. If we stop all this strategizing and know there is no order of difficulty in any of this. Nothing is bigger or harder than anything else for a source that is infinite. It doesn't matter how big the dream is or how big the need is. It doesn't matter if you have a headache or 6 kinds of cancer. So you've got to stop studying the problem and trying to fix it. I bet nobody in this room got that. Stop studying the problem and trying to fix it. Shift into savoring and appreciating. Stop diagnosing and fixing. Start savoring and appreciating. My dominant Vibration now is one of appreciation and savoring. The ego's dominant vibration is dissatisfaction. Just even mild dissatisfaction, even just like, it's too cold in here. It's too hot in here. It's too light, it's too dark. That's the ego, just ruining and shitting on the moment. The ego's just like, there's your peaceful spiritual morning. Right? It's always about later we'll be happy. After this, when we get to the next stop, the next event, the next thing, then we'll be happy. We just adjust this much, right? Right? You go, the 1 o'clock shift will be the one. And then, great, you manifested it, but then the mind says, yeah, but I'm at the wrong table. I should be at that table over there. It's the constant, I'm not happy right now, which just feeds more unhappiness over there, right? You take yourself with you everywhere you go. So it's the decision, I'm going to be satisfied. See, we're afraid that satisfaction means we won't get any more. Satisfaction is what primes the pump for more. It is being in the state of satisfaction and appreciation which actually brings more, because satisfaction is not settling. Those are two different things. I'm not talking about, well, I guess this is all I can expect. That's settling. Satisfaction is, what is there to appreciate in this moment? Let me just tell you, I'm almost ready to start the talk. I wish I were kidding. So wish I were kidding. So for me, the trip to Italy was a spiritual pilgrimage. It had very little to do with Italy itself. The thing about Italy was it's the only place I would have gone. I was invited by a friend who paid for everything, but he could have said almost any place else in the world and I wouldn't have gone because I wouldn't have been interested. Because I have no curiosity, I don't care about the world. One thing that I can say after having been, I have no interest or curiosity about the world. And one thing I know from being to Italy is people are the same everywhere. People are basically the same everywhere. Cultures are different, but people are really the same everywhere, right? And, you know, what I found was that Italy is just, well, we were only in Venice. And Venice is, if you've never been, I'll just tell you what it is. It is alleys and bridges, alleys and bridges, alleys and bridges, alleys and bridges. I've been through a million alleys and bridges. Beautiful, had a great time, loved it all, but it's just, they call them streets, but they're alleys. A street that you can reach the walls of, that's an alley. But those are most of their streets. So, and the bridge is a hill, because it goes up, because they have to have boats that go under it. So you're basically just walking alleys, hills, alley, hill, alley, hill, alley, hill, alley, hill. And I'm just not, I'm not a sightseer, but I was with a friend who wanted to see everything, so I just went with that. For me, it was a spiritual pilgrimage. I learned so much about myself in that little over a week, basically, that I was there. First of all, I found out that I'm, like, fucking awesome. I really didn't know until I went. I had a whole different idea about who I was. But a lot of it had to do with what we've talked about here so much, and this adaptability and openness to change. Because I'm somebody who has lived alone for decades now. And I spend 90% of my time alone and talking. Most days, I'm only talking to waiters. Like, I can go weeks without talking to a friend, other than, like, in lectures and classes. So I'm mostly talking, like, the people at Starbucks, the waiter at the restaurant. So I spend a lot of time alone. So I didn't even really know if I would be able to do this, to be with somebody almost 24 hours a day for a week, and traveling around with them and doing all the things that I'm afraid to do. There was just fear after fear after fear after fear after fear. Not panic, but fear of things that were uncomfortable for me, that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go through the TSA. There were just a million and one things that I didn't want to do. And basically, my main spiritual practice through all of it was, like, this is so amazing, is I would just go, okay. Do you know what a spiritual practice that can be to just go, okay, we're going to do this. Okay. Lots of things we did that I don't like to do, don't want to do. And I just went, okay. There was only really one time where I was like, I just was like, that's it. Well, there were two, really. There was one where the second day that we were there, because we had walked so much the first day, and I don't, not used to that. So we had walked for like 7 hours, basically, like on the first full day that we were there. And I don't mean like, we didn't go into a single shop. Like he was just walking. I was just behind him, like walking. Right? I mean, for like 7 hours, because he just wanted to see everything, which was great. And it was like, there was only sun on one day. It was just gray, cold. Just gray coldness all but one day, which I don't care for. So there was just lots of things for me to be like, and I just kept going, okay, I'm choosing joy. I'm choosing to have a good time. I'm choosing to love this. So we walked like between 5 to 7 hours, and during that time we had like lunch where we sat down for maybe 45 minutes, and then we walked through a museum, so we were walking slower, but the rest of the time we were just walking. So by the next day I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I was up all night because my knees were throbbing in pain from an alley, a hill, an alley, a hill, an alley, a hill, an alley, and hill. So I said, you just go to it, and he was fine with that, with just going and doing his thing, and I just stayed in the room most of the day, and then by the time he came back at 5, then we went and had dinner. Also, I'm up every morning at like 5 a.m., and so I have breakfast at 6, and I have lunch at 11:30 every day. Well, we were getting out and having breakfast at 10, then eating, our lunch at 5, and sometimes our dinner was like at 10 o'clock at night. And that's hell on earth to me. And I was like, okay. And I enjoyed it. I just kept saying, okay, I'm deciding. So the first thing was, I said, I'm not walking tomorrow. So I didn't, and that was fine. And then the other one was we were going to go. And my main fear also was being lost in a country where I only can know how to say grazie. That's all I really knew how to say. So I never let him more than 3 feet out of my sight. We had separate rooms, so, when I was in my room, I was alone. But then the rest of the time, I did not leave him 3 feet out of my sight because I have no sense of direction at all. I never knew where I was for a whole fucking week. Never. I never had any fucking idea where we were, ever. I mean, we would leave the hotel and go over this tiny little bridge and this alley and this bridge and this alley, and I never knew where we were going. It was the same every time. I never knew where we were going. So I never let him more than 3 feet out of my sight. I was totally prepared at any moment to throw myself on the ground and sob. But I never had to do that. But we were supposed to go to this ball. We wore costumes. I hate costumes. We wore costumes 2 days in a row. I was like, okay, put on the costume. Like, it's your attitude. It's deciding to have a good attitude and to never once bitch. See, I didn't know if I could do that. To never once bitch. I never bitched. Just that one day where I said, I'm not going to walk because my knees hurt, and then we were supposed to go to this ball. So he was like, I'm not sure where it is, and he had an amazing sense of direction, so that scared me that he didn't know where it was. He's like, it's very complicated, and and we're gonna be going there at night, and it's fucking freezing cold, and we're in fucking costumes. So he said, we'll do a dry run in the morning to go find it. So we got lost for a long time on the dry run. So during the dry run, I was like, that's it. Because, I was ready to say, like, I will pay for us to be helicoptered in. Because I was like, I am not gonna be wandering this fucking freezing cold streets of Venice at 8 o'clock tonight, in the dark, in a costume, like with no idea where we're going. So I was like, we gotta do something else. So he was like, okay. Well, then after a couple hours went by, then I was fine. And I said, let's just do it. Do you think you know how to get there? And he said, yes. And I said, well, then we'll just go. And I said to him, and I don't care if we walk the streets of Venice all night long till 5 in the morning. Because once I signed up, then I'm done. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it and then bitch about it. So I said, I don't care. We can walk all night long and be lost, and I'm going to have a good time now that I'm in. Like, I'm in, so I don't care now. So we did. We got lost. And we were lost for a long time, and we had to, and his phone kept dying. He was trying to use the GPS on it. We didn't want to use roaming, but his phone would die every 3 seconds. So then we were using GPS. So then we got there. We get to the ball. We're in there. It turns out that we basically crashed this fucking ball. We were actually at the wrong ball. So we had gotten lost in the morning going to the wrong ball, had got lost in the evening going to the wrong ball, had spent a full fucking hour at the wrong ball, took pictures and videos, which many of you saw, of the wrong ball, which we subsequently were very snottily thrown out of by a French woman. And I had a ball the whole fucking time. I said to him, I am not disappointed at all. I'm disappointed for you because I know how much you wanted to go and how much work you put into this, but I actually feel like it's better story that we were thrown out of that fucking ball than if we had stayed at that fucking ball. But it was a complete experience because those of you who've been coming for a while, I've been saying this over and over and over again, that it's ridiculous for us to be in these rooms where we're talking about limitless, growth and potential and expansion when the first thing we think about everything is I can't. Oh, we're switching MP3s now. I can't. Oh, we're moving to a different, I can't. So this was me saying, if the Course in Miracles says to teach is to demonstrate. So it was me walking through every I can't. I can't leave the country. I can't get on a plane and be on a fucking plane for 1,000,001 fucking hours. And then go through TSA and go through all this stuff. And I would just keep going, okay. I know my source. And we didn't stand in a fucking line anywhere. The only place we were in line was in the gondola ride. We were in a gondola parade in costume. Just everything that could make me uncomfortable happened. Oh, we're going to go on a gondola parade in costume, which, thank God, was the only sunny day we had. So we're in the sun, sitting in this fucking gondola, and I had fun at all of it. I enjoyed all of it. There wasn't anything I didn't enjoy except for when my knees were hurting and the one time we got lost. But everything else, though they weren't things that I would have chosen, I loved fucking all of it. And I just ate pasta. Just about the time I would just be a little too exhausted, it'd be like, pasta. Right? So that was the experience of being ill. Now, at the very end of that, and what I really felt like was this was a new phase of moving out of a story I had told myself for years. And it really was a story that I believed. It was based on what my mother used to say about me, and all the things that my mother used to say about me that I had internalized that I would then even say out loud. I would say, I'm set in my ways, I'm a curmudgeon, I'm grouchy, I'm da-da-da-da. And I found out that all those things are not really true. That mostly when I've been grouchy, it's because someone's been an asshole. What I found out was a lot of the times that I was mean and grouchy was I was surrounded by assholes. And I realized that that was just part of my consciousness, was that that's what I would attract. I would attract people who created drama and problems, and it would piss me off. And what I realized was now, since I have so many wonderful people around me, I'm not grouchy. I'm not short-tempered. I'm not mean. I'm not hard to get along with. I'm very open, in fact. I'm very easy to get along with when I'm around sane, kind people. But a lot of people are not that, because the muggles have lost their shit. Right? So I don't hang out with the muggles. I hang out with kind, wonderful people. And I find out I'm very easy to get along with. And I like to be out of the house. And I like to talk to people. And I like to do things when there's nice people to do them with. So I felt like, well, this is a new beginning, really. This is really just of willingness, not of like it's not like, oh, I can't wait to travel. I may never get on another fucking plane again. I have no yearning or desire to go anywhere. If it comes up and it's a good idea, then I would say yes to it. But it's not something that I get a thrill out of or anything. It was a wonderful experience as a pilgrimage of me to grow and see what happens when I move past I can't and just go to okay. Because you don't even have to say I can. You just have to say okay. Do you know how easy that is to just say okay? Yes is sometimes way too fucking big. But okay, right? People say yes to life. A lot of people who say yes to life should be saying no. There's a lot of shit that you need to say no to. Most successful people say no a lot more than they say yes. So you have to discern whether something is really good for you or not. You have to go within, get your gut instinct about things. So I'm not someone who advocates, you should say yes to life. But I do think you should learn to say, okay. 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 That just ameliorates that I can't, I won't, I shouldn't have to. We just go, okay. Because it's just willingness. It's an openness of like, okay, let's see. Let's throw in our good attitude. It's not a, okay, we'll see. Right? It's a, I'm willing to see how I can grow here. I'm willing to see what good is in this here, right? So I just started saying, okay, I thought, well, this is a new era. Well, then at the very end of that trip, I got an email from someone in LA with some really disturbing news about an old friend of mine who had committed suicide. And I won't go into the story, and they wanted me to speak at her memorial service on Friday when I got back. And that was really the end of a whole era. Because the story of that person and their suffering and what I'd gone through with them at various times through the whole 20 years of knowing her and her family. She was involved in that whole Harvey Weinstein, Rose McGowan thing, and I was counseling her when all of that happened. She was the agent that sent Rose McGowan to Harvey Weinstein's office, who then basically Rose McGowan told an untrue story about and attacked her, and because she was already mentally ill, she committed suicide. Because you become, this is the other thing that was huge in this is, and why I've said, and again, people don't like to hear, the muggles certainly don't like to hear this, is it is no change to replace predatory men with angry women. It is a lateral move. It is not growth. Anger, unhealed anger, destroys the life of the person who's holding it and everyone in their path. And it was so fascinating because on the plane on the way over to Italy, my friend John suggested that I watch the movie 3 Billboards, which was exactly that story. A woman whose unhealed anger destroyed everybody, the life of basically everyone in her life. Her daughter had been murdered and raped, and because she could not heal her own anger and let it go, she destroyed the life of her living son. She was like, I don't fucking care about you. I'm focused on my pain. This is Rose McGowan. You become the predator you don't forgive. She was predatory against Jill until Jill killed herself. We have to, this is why A Course in Miracles talks almost about nothing but forgiveness. Because it's for your own sake. It sets you free. It destroys unforgiveness, unhealed anger. This nation is a hotbed of anger and attack because anger and victim consciousness are one and the same. So what I saw was, as devastating as that experience was, and going and speaking at this funeral, I was awful. And I was the last speaker. And I know her ex-husband brought me in thinking I was going to say this, that, and the other thing, and I was a wreck. and a fucking mess. And I basically said, that is the last memorial I will ever even go to. I'm done. Any of you die? Don't look at me. I will be at a bar drinking to you. I will have a toast in your honor and your life. I ain't coming to your fucking memorial. I ain't saying nothing at your memorial. I'm never going to another memorial as long as they are nothing but shit shows. Because you got a bunch of people who don't all believe the same thing, who don't know how to grieve, who are going to say horrifying shit. So I'm up there I'm never nervous when I speak anywhere, and I could barely, my lips were so dry, I thought dust was flying off of them. But I felt like that was the ending of that whole book of my life, of that experience of a lot of people with unhealed anger, unhealed wounds, a lot of mental illness that I had and that felt like that was the end of, so it wasn't the end of a chapter of my life, it was the end of an entire book. That this starts a new book in my life. Welcome to the first page. Right? I felt like this month is the first page of this, taking all of these things, these very simple principles now, and really running with them. To really see what you can do when you just turn your back on the world of appearances and live by principle. I got an email from a guy yesterday who gets the recordings all the time, great guy, and it was a short email with a link that said, and it said something along the lines of, I've been carrying around some extra weight, and then I saw this article about the Biggest Losers. And so he linked to this article where somebody had followed the people on The Biggest Loser for like 6 years, and how many of them had gained back all the weight, and then some, and da-da-da. And so it went into all of this stuff about how when you diet like that, it fucks up your metabolism. Now you have a broken metabolism. And so blah, 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 it's always going to be a battle, and you're da-da-da-da-da-da, starvation mode, and da-da-da. And so what he said in there was, I thought that it was just age, but now I realized that my diet and then my metabolism, da-da-da, and I have a really hard battle before me. So then I wrote him back and I said, well, what the fuck? It's like, it'd be no different if you wrote me and told me I have this kind of cancer and therefore I'm fucked. It's like, what you have done is, now see, here's the thing. I say sometimes, let's not be sloppy and lazy in our thinking, but we're not lazy. We have horrendous energy for researching fucked up shit. We have so much energy, we could spend 8 solid fucking hours Googling how we're fucked. How our metabolism is broken, how the ozone layer is depleting, and the polar ice caps are melting, and blah, blah. We can spend so much energy that we're not even fucking tired. We can't wait to get up tomorrow morning and find out more. But we're just too exhausted to hold a thought that's affirmative. It's so draining to think a positive thought, right? I mean, it was just like all you've done is you've just researched an article to argue for all your limitations. And what you've done is, I said, the problem with all these people is first of all, we live by Ruth Gordon's motto, which is never face the facts. Right? Never face the facts. Or you won't do anything if you're going to face the facts, because the facts are always fucked. Right? So that was in her autobiography. She said, I would never become an actress if I faced the facts, because I was short and I was ethnic and I wasn't traditionally pretty and I had a weird accent and I didn't know anybody in show business and I da-da-da-da. But I knew what the facts were, but I didn't face the facts. I just went on, right? We always talk about, who cares about the facts? We've consulted a higher authority. Are you as willing to spend as much time researching miracles as you are researching and Googling your illness? That's the question. So I said to him, well, all you've done, basically, all these people have done basically is, see, what you resist persists. So as soon as you start to fight your fat, you're fucked. You've made your body an enemy. So, of course, you will temporarily lose the weight, but it's going to come back because all your focus is on that. It's not on love, it's on fear. I need to get rid of this fat because it'll give me a heart attack and it'll make me unattractive and it'll do this. And I won't have this and blah, 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 blah. So you're basically hating part of your body. This is why Oprah can never lose the weight. Right? It goes off, it comes back, it goes off, it comes back. Because her basic sense is there's something wrong with me that needs to be fixed. We've got to stop diagnosing the goddamn problem and trying to fix it. Did you hear that? Are you willing to just bless everything? Are you just willing to just focus on joy in this moment? What there is to be grateful for and joyous about in this moment. You can't hate part of your body and think it's not going to increase because it's feeding off your hate. It's feeding off of your attention. That's why Jesus said, resist not evil. That's why #resist basically means #more please. Right? That's why I started doing #I am. #I am. So then I do little memes that say, beautiful, gorgeous, talented, #I am. Stop aligning yourself with victim consciousness. Don't say #me too. You're saying, I'm going to align myself with victimization. Align yourself with what you want. What happened to you is not the story. You are not what happened to you. This is another huge fucking thing. Was I realized how much I still think about the past. And I've trained myself now to catch myself immediately and move into the present and the future. Not just being in the now, the future too. You must know that you have a fabulous future. It doesn't see, here's the problem is, at a certain age, we stop thinking we have a fabulous future because we're moving towards decline. That's what we think. So that becomes true for us. I realized this about San Diego and about Santa Barbara and even LA to a certain degree, that when I thought about San Diego, I didn't think I had a future here. I thought, well, I'm just coming and doing this. But really, everything in San Diego is in my past. You know, I lectured there. We had a lot of people coming. We did this, and it was really big, and it was exciting, and this happened, and it was growing, and da-da-da-da. And I think of it now as like, well, I like it here, and I just come here. But I think everything that was going to happen has already happened there. Now, this isn't about me. Apply that to yourself, because I guarantee you think that about parts of your life. There are parts of your life where you think everything that's going to happen to me in that area of my life has already happened. And I'm telling you, that's just a limiting belief, and it's bullshit. And it will be true unless you vision that you have a future. And you don't have to know what it is. It can be as simple as the mood of, isn't it wonderful? To know that you have a wonderful future. As I was driving in this morning, now I'm more aware of this now. So as I was driving in, I realized that all of my energy in San Diego is about the past. Because as I drove past, and this happens every time, like when I drive past the exit that says La Jolla, I think about Debbie Ford, who's dead. I have all kinds of memories that are all like that. They're all about things from the past. Most of them are painful, most of them are about loss, most of them are about, you understand? So what I have to do, I have to create the joy of new memories to come, right? Of like, I don't know what's going to happen, but now here's the thing, is that when you do that, what happens is it costs you the joy of the present moment. Because here's the thing, like I've enjoyed coming here for the last, couple of years that I've been here, but I realized that until this week, when I had this realization, I wasn't fully inhabiting the idea of this is the best it's ever been. Do you know what I mean? Of saying like, well, I just drive down there, and it's in this beautiful new sanctuary, and I don't have to do anything. Like somebody else takes the money, and someone else does the lights, and someone else does the sound, and someone else records it, and someone videos it. And I give the talk, and they hand me a check at the end, and I go home. Well, I don't know how it gets any better than that. I can't even, I mean, I know that it could, but I don't know how. I guess if I had a driver. But I mean, I can't imagine how it would be any better, basically. But I had stopped really seeing that because to me, the vibration was mostly about the past. Everything that was going to happen there has already happened there. So the idea then is to have a completely new experience of this. To have a clean slate without it being a new place. You understand? So I want you to think about your life, the areas where you think it's already, everything that was going to happen that's good has already happened. Because now I'm too old, or I don't have the energy, or this or that, or blah, 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 blah. And to start seeing it as new, to start thinking that I have a future, a fabulous, wonderful future. So I have to do that with Santa Barbara. I have to do that with Los Angeles, to realize that I don't know what's going to happen. Lots can happen. It doesn't have to be exciting in worldly terms. It just has to be, there's no drama, there's no pain, there's no sorrow. It's just joyful and peaceful and happy. We have a good time, right? So many times we're waiting for something to happen. Oh, I'm waiting. When's it going to happen? And you don't even fucking know what the it is. Instead of like, I'm satisfied in the moment. What a wonderful moment. Look at you. You're so you. You know, just like, isn't it wonderful? Like, be stupid. Be more stupid. Don't be so savvy about things, right? Don't be the belligerent one. Just be the one who's like, yeah, isn't this great? You know? I mean, that was the thing about Italy, was that I completely gave control to my friend John because I know John. So I wasn't thinking, oh, it's going to be awful. I was like, he's a world traveler. He does his stuff all the time. He knows what he's doing. He has a good sense of direction. I'm just going to turn it over to him. I've known him for 20 years. He's not going to, I know him. He's not going to say, now tonight we're going to go out and score some coke. Like, that's not going to, you know what I mean? Like when you know somebody, you're like, I know what is, I don't know everything we're going to do, but, I'm just going to go with it and enjoy the moment, even though these are not the things I would have chosen to do. And I had a great time. Well, the thing is, I could do that anywhere. You don't have to leave the country. See, that's the problem, is we think we need a vacation. Because in our mind, we think when I'm not on vacation, I know this. I know nothing's going to happen here that I don't know, because I know this. There's not going to be anything new that happens here, or in this place, or these people. And so we sort of get into the place, too, where it's like, people sort of think like, I'm either on vacation or I'm in bondage. Like, that's sort of how a lot of people live their lives. I'm either on vacation or I'm in bondage. So a lot of people, that's what their work is to them. Like, I'm in bondage from 9 to 5, and then I'm released. And then I have to hurry up and have some fun before I have to go to bed. But I'm too tired from the bondage. Well, that's just a mindset. Instead of being at work and appreciating what's there and beating the drum of what's good about it, that's what gets you a promotion, that's what gets you more money, that's what even can get you a different job, is by appreciating being satisfied with what you have is not something that locks off anything good coming. It is your dissatisfaction in cursing what you have that keeps it locked in place. All the people that I know that have been trying to get out of something for 10 years are so fucking in it. I got to get out of this job. They're in it for years. I got to get out of this town. They can't get the fuck out of the town. Have you noticed that? I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this. And they never do. Because that's where their focus is. Their focus isn't on Well, I have a dream for something else, and I'm appreciating what I have right now. Not appreciating like, well, I guess I'll be grateful for that. Well, at least I'm not on the street. It's not good enough. It's got to be, how can I feel joy in my now? How can I feel joy in my now? It's catching a mood. Catching a mood. It's interesting because I can feel the shift more like driving down here, and I drove through lots of different kinds of weather on the way down here. It was sunny, it was storming, it was raining, it was gray, it was everything. But I noticed more of the drive than I normally do. You know how you just go somewhere? You're not aware of, you just know how to get there, and you just, because you're in a story in your head. Usually it's not a pleasant story. It's usually a story of I have to, I need to, 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 I have to, I have to, I have to, I need to, I have to, I need to, I have to, I need to. That's why I said people are the same everywhere. You know, we went to Italy. I'd said for years, I live like the Italians. No, I don't. I live so much fucking better than the Italians. They're just like us. They have a different culture, and they know how to relax a little more than we do, but mostly they're walking around worrying too. Most human beings are walking around locked in their heads in a slightly stressful story all the time. Just slightly stressful. Not misery-inducing, just slightly stressful. It was just the same in Italy. You could see just the slightly stressful. I have to do this, I have to do that, I'm late, I come on here, right? And then I realized, I don't live like any of the people. I live like a fucking favored son of God. Spoiled rotten. That's how you want to live. That's your destiny. That's your inheritance. To be a spoiled, rotten daughter or son of God. Where Source is just saying, what now, darling? Sweetheart, what now? And then whatever you think, that's what you get. Unfortunately, most of the time we're thinking, worry, 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 and then you get more of that. Strategy, 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 then you get more of that. Fix, 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 and then you get more of that. But if instead you're thinking, lavish, wasteful, extravagant, luxurious, abundant, good, then it's just like the universe is like, here you go, here you go, here you go. Oh, you don't have to wait in line, come on. I can't tell you how many times we would come up to something. I mean, I didn't know that we were so American. But like, we would just walk down a thing. We were walking down a thing. Like, we were just walking in our clothes down this ramp in an airport, and the woman goes, Americans this way. We were like, how the fuck? We hadn't gotten off a plane from America or anything. We were just in a random place, and there were just Americans there. Like, we just can spot you people from wherever. But I can't tell you how many places where, like, and my fear always was, like, I'm going to do something wrong because I don't know what I'm doing. And so it'd be like, the first time was we got to this line where they were supposed to have given me something on the airplane, and they only gave me the one slip, so we were supposed to go. We didn't have to go in this one line, so we come over, and I give the woman the card, and it's the wrong card, and they didn't give me another card, and she was just like, no, and you Americans, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Go ahead. That happened everywhere I went. They would say no to me, and then they would just go ahead. It was so bizarre when you're in alignment. When you are in alignment, you are favored by Source. So I would be in the wrong, and they would go no, and then they would go ahead. That's what it does when you tend to your vibration instead of trying to manipulate circumstances. So I was continually in a space of, okay, I'm going with the flow of Source. I'm going with the flow of Source, and it's all good. And so, like I said, we didn't wait in line. The only line we waited in was for the gondola parade. Okay, so now, I know this is long, but now that I'm having a new experience of San Diego, these might be 6 or 7 hours long. So when this guy wrote me about this, about, trying to lose weight and this, blah, 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 and this, that, and the other thing, and I wrote back and I said, well, that's just an arguing for your limitations. You have to realize we've consulted a higher authority, right? And instead, what you need to do is love your body. Of course, if you're judging and trying to get rid of something in your body, it's just going to make it worse. You need to love your body. So, again, it's not what you do, it's your consciousness when you do it. So if you are exercising because you hate your body, those are the people who are on a treadmill 15 hours a day and never lose a fucking ounce. If you're on a treadmill because you love your body will change and will reflect the love that you have for it, because it's consciousness, consciousness, consciousness. So this wonderful little book, Key to Yourself by Venice Bloodworth, I always think of this. It's such a great little, again, a dead woman. Always the best writers. So this is this woman, Agatha McGivern, who had written this article, Think Yourself Thin. But the first part she writes about was how she had done a physical healing on herself by laying down every day and instructing. And what had happened was she had had some kind of fissure, and she kept having it removed, and it kept coming back. So she realized, this is my consciousness. I can have it cut out 1,000,000 times. It's just going to keep coming back because it's a pattern in my consciousness. So she started practicing this healing through alignment. So she laid down every day, and she just began loving and talking to her body and instructing it, and eventually it healed. So then she thought, okay, so I was 25 or 30 pounds overweight. Now, if I could cure myself of illness by my faith and desire alone, why could I not get thin the same way? I had been about 25 or 30 pounds overweight for a period of 8 or 9 years. I had desperately tried to reduce, for I'm not tall, and all excess weight is very noticeable. I had said I tried to reduce. I had eaten Wallace bread, had gone on a vegetable diet, had starved myself only to lose a pound or two, and immediately regained it again if I went on a normal diet. I had struggled on this way for years, never eating a bite of food without thinking, this is going to make me fat. I was always hungry and craved foods of various kinds. I was always thinking about my meals, and the more I thought, the hungrier I became. I could think of so many delectable foods which I dared not eat because they would add to my weight. I visioned fat growing on me and how I would soon look. After my bodily pain disappeared, one day I thought, why not use the same principle on this fat of mine? It seemed reasonable. I tried it, and today I'm a normal weight. I did not starve, and I did not diet nor worry about my food. How I got thin. After I made up my mind, I compelled myself to think thin thoughts instead of the fat ones I'd been thinking for years. I started thinking myself slender, dreamed myself slender. I ate what I wanted of any kind of food. I did not allow myself to think it would make me fat. Instead, I said over and over to myself, so she would say this at meals, I have just eaten a normal amount. I am thinner today than I was yesterday. That's basically all she did. I continued to think that earnestly, sincerely, and I really began to get thin. Not all at once, but each week I lost a pound and gradually more. The wonderful part about it was, and still is, I do not crave food as I previously did. When I eat, I have a satisfied feeling for a normal length of time. Taking my thoughts off of food, forgetting it except at mealtime, and then eating without a thought, take no thought, without a thought as to whether it will make me fat or not, has killed this terrible longing and hungry feeling. The strange thing about it all is I do eat less than I did when I tried so hard to do without food, except now I am satisfied and contented. The secret is my attitude of mind has changed. I now think thin thoughts. We've got to stop creating wars with anything. This is a war planet. This world is rooted in attack thoughts and war at the human level. The only way out is to go above the battleground. There's a whole section of the course called Above the Battleground. You must raise above the battleground. Stop fighting. That's what he said in his email. He said, I realize I have a big challenge and a fight ahead of me. I'm like, you better not. You start fighting that fat, you could end up being buried in a piano case. You've got to stop the war with your body, with your cancer, with your headaches, with your hangnails. You've got to stop the war and shift into love. I'm doing this to love my body, to accept my body, to embrace my body. It doesn't, the latest study now is that fat people live longer. Have you seen that? Yeah, that's the new thing, is like fat people live longer. So it doesn't matter if you live long enough, they're going to say everything. Drink wine, don't drink wine. Smoke, don't smoke. Eat meat, don't eat meat. It doesn't matter. Just be at peace and love whatever you're doing, and that'll reflect in your world. End the battle, end the fight. All right. And then maybe this might be the end. Might not, but it might be. My affirmation is, I have the metabolism of an Olympic swimmer. That's my, because you know Michael Phelps? So Michael Phelps, when he was winning his gold medals and stuff, I'm sorry. They would talk about how much he would eat. Like, he would just eat these enormous amounts. Like, he would eat like 3 Subway sandwiches and stuff for lunch and all this stuff. And he was just like burning it up. And I was saying, well, okay, that's for me. I have the metabolism of an Olympic swimmer. Like, I just tell myself that now. I just tell myself that all the time. I have the metabolism of an Olympic swimmer. It's the screensaver on my phone. There's a picture of Michael Phelps, and then I made a little meme that says, I have the metabolism of an Olympic swimmer. It's all what you are saying to yourself. It's the conversation that you are having with yourself about your body, about your relationships, about your money, about your work, about where you live, about the society you live in, all of those things. That's what's creating your outer world. But what you want to do is set a mood. Worry less about specifically what to think and set a mood. That affirmation, for me, set a mood. Like, for me to say, I have just eaten a normal amount of food and I'm thinner today than I was yesterday, that doesn't set a mood for me. That set a mood for her, so that's how it manifested. What sets the mood for me is if I say, I have the metabolism of an Olympic swimmer. My friend Zan, she doesn't even know where this came from. It's so weird how something just drops in your head. And she's not someone who lies about stuff. She just doesn't. But one day at work, and she's, I think, the oldest one in the office, because the girls are like, I think, in their 20s or something like that. And the girls in her office were talking about, I don't know, they were reading about osteoporosis and blah, 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 and da-da-da-da. And she said, oh, my doctor said I have the bones of a 20-year-old. Which was totally untrue. Like, it hadn't happened. Like, she said to me, I don't even know why I said that. She said, oh, my doctor didn't say anything like that to me. She said, but we do these affirmations so much all the time, and I'm so cognizant all the time of when someone has a negative thought of turning it around and not accepting, like, the limiting beliefs of the people around me, that when they said that, and I knew that I'm a lot older than they are, as soon as they said that, I said, my doctor said I have the bones of a 20-year-old. So she said that in class one night, and I said, oh, I'm going to take that. My doctor said I have the boner of a 21-year-old. You can adapt it any way you want. But you know what I'm saying? Like, she just refused to accept that limitation of, oh, they're worried about osteoporosis, and I'm a lot older than them, so I should probably be worrying about my calcium. She just went straight into, my doctor said I have the bones of a 21-year-old. And that set a mood for her. One of the things that she was saying for a while was, and it just dropped into her head, because once you get rolling, once you get a momentum going. So she said, one of the things that she started saying was, I was born under a lucky star. Well, she was saying that one year for this whole sort of section of class, and it seemed like every time she came to class, someone had given her something else. Like, her boss had given her a laptop and had given her an Apple Watch, and people were giving her clothes and all this stuff just because she was going around saying all the time, I was born under a lucky star. Because that made her feel a certain way. It's not a magic phrase. It set a mood for her. It made her feel a certain way, and then reality matched the feeling. Reality matches your feelings. So make yourself feel good. That's why Abraham says that we do teach that kind of selfishness. You need to make yourself feel good, or you don't have anything to give anyone else. The people who are so worried about the world are the last people who are going to help the world at all. Because even what they do doesn't make much of a difference because it is saturated with a fucked up, icky vibration. It's like, oh, I can't wait for that depressed chick to come around again and feed me. Yeah, no, I'd like somebody happy to come around. You know? It's like I used to deliver food for Project Angel Food. And sometimes you were the only person that patient saw that entire day delivering their food. So you wanted to show up like happy. Even if they were miserable, you didn't want to match their misery. Then they're like, oh yeah, Project Angel Food sent over that asshole again today with lunch. Guess it's better than starving to death. You know, or that guy who comes to the door crying because he feels so sorry for me. Right? It's like somebody who's happy, somebody who's joyous, somebody who's at a high vibration, that we're lifting our vibration. We are tending to our vibration. Okay, so then this from Catherine Ponder's Open Your Mind to Prosperity, and then I might let you go. True prosperity has a spiritual basis. This is the prosperity secret of the ages. God is the source of your supply. As long as you relate to the source, you will be prosperous. It is when you turn from God as the source and depend upon people and conditions for your prosperity that you have financial problems. People and conditions are channels of your supply, to be sure, but God is the source. Knowing this, you do not panic if the channel changes, but know to look to God as the source for guidance and supply. I do not depend upon persons or conditions for my prosperity. God is the source of my prosperity and provides his own channels of supply to me now. So don't panic when the avenue through which your good comes changes, because your source is eternal, right? I started writing out, I always have pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of affirmations and things. So here's some of my latest ones. People track me down to give me money. This is a good one now. I want you to write this one down, you writer downers. We said it at the beginning, but I want to say it again. It might be a little bit different. The huge, fabulous things now manifest even easier and faster than the little piddly things. The huge, fabulous things now manifest even easier and faster than the little piddly things. We want you to stretch your consciousness, to stretch your ability to perceive what you can handle. People get great joy out of prospering me. I get great joy out of prospering others. That was easy. I have one of those red buttons from Staples that when you push it, it says, that was easy. Get one if you don't have one. Use it all the fucking time. It's at my desk for everything I do, especially when I'm balancing the checkbook in QuickBooks, because sometimes I'll be like, you know, you're like, you want it to come out to the penny. So like anything you avoid, taxes, all that kind of stuff that you think, this is going to be hard, this is going to be this is going to be that, you have your easy button there. And every time, like first when I'm balancing the checkbook, I'll go, first thing I'm going to do is just tick off all the deposits. So I do all the deposits, then I go, that was easy. You understand? All the things you think are going to be hard, when you are in the consciousness of this is hard, I don't want to do it, and there's not, you want to keep turning that around to, that was easy. That was easy. That it's easier than you think. That things are easier than you think. I am more prosperous and joyful every day. I don't spend, I circulate, and it all comes flowing back to me, purified and flowing faster. I am a gracious receiver and an enthusiastic giver. I have an amazing present and a fabulous future. I circulate ever-increasing amounts of big money, and it comes back to me multiplied. I always have whatever I need. I've been prosperous for a long time, and my set point is moving up. The best is yet to come. I am eager to see what is manifesting next. That's what I put on my board then when I typed it out for, where I said, I eagerly surrender to the prosperous, loving, joyous, sexy will of God. Because for years I had reluctantly surrendered to the will of God. So now I eagerly, because I know it's better than any plan I have, because it's perfect happiness. The best is yet to come. That's my song now. The best is yet to come, because I was living in that realm of all that was going to happen has already happened there. In order for me to have new adventures, I'd have to do something new. That's what we think. Like, I have to go to a new country on vacation for something new to happen. Or I'd have to move to another town. Or I'd have to start another job. What we want to know is no matter where we are, there are infinite possibilities within that situation if we open our minds to it. The job that you think you're in bondage in, you have to stop thinking, I've gone as far as I can here, this is da-da-da-da. You've got to let go of all of that. You've got to start thinking, I have a fabulous future no matter what, no matter where I am. You've got to start claiming that for yourself, and then the conditions will match that. Something might happen at that company. Zan was plucked out of the job that she was at, that she hated for such a long time and resisted and couldn't get out of. She turned around and started blessing it and doing positive aspects of it every day. And one day they basically fired her and said, but we found a new job for you that you're starting on Monday. That was like just across the street, that was 1,000,000 times better than the job she had. She didn't have to apply. She didn't have to do jack shit. They said, we're letting you go, and we got you your next fucking job, where you're going to work less hours with more benefits. Consciousness, 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 right? I'm eager to see what's manifesting. So the best is yet to come. I play that song all the time, that Frank Sinatra song. Frank Sinatra is the dude. Because most of his songs are happy. The sunny side of the street, the best is yet to come. Like just song after song after song of just joyous anticipation of good times. I play Frank Sinatra all the fucking time. Because most music is about misery. If you turn on pop radio, all you're going to hear about is the relationship that went wrong. How you're not loved and you're left. That's most music is that. So you have to seek, and you think that's not affecting you? That's a vibration that goes into your consciousness. If you're singing along with sad songs, oh dear. Then you're affirming that probably a lot more than you are affirming prosperity and joy and abundance and love and life. That's why I sing a lot of Frank Sinatra, a lot of Michael Bublé, a lot of that music of those times, right? Because he sings a lot of those standard sort of classic kind of pop, jazzy sort of happy songs. It gets in your vibration. I play that in the morning in the bathroom. It's like, you're getting ready for the day, and it's like, the best is yet to come on the sunny side of the street, right? I can see clearly now the rain is gone, right? You find songs that say things that you want to affirm. Amy Winehouse is not good to be listening to and singing along with if you want a happy present and future. All right, I have way more to say, but we're just going to stop now because I want pasta. And I don't think anyone here has it. I'm heading back to Los Angeles for a big fucking bowl of pasta and some red wine. And I have the metabolism of an Olympic swimmer. Telling you. Okay. All right, let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath. Relaxing into that infinite stream of well-being, infinite possibilities and good, circulating energy, circulating divine chi. So take a few moments now to again decide how you want to feel this week. Not what you want to have happen or manifest. What's the mood? Let the mood be the magnet which draws the experiences. If you want abundance, get into the mood of prosperity. If you want loving companionship, then get in the mood of knowing that you deserve it, that you are desirable, lovable, loving. If you want work, a different home, more health and vitality in your body, feel as if it's already happened. Know that your source is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant in giving to you. It doesn't ask you, but what did you do with what I gave you yesterday? You're not asked to hoard or save. You are given to lavishly and extravagantly so that you can circulate it. You're not pouring it out, you're circulating it. It never really leaves you. Everything that you give is given to yourself. It looks like it's going to this person or that place or that group or this situation, but it's really rushing right back to the source. So feel the pleasure of source energy moving through you now as you connect to it, that you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Your life is one of synchronicity. You're always showing up at the right place at the right time, and everything is coming to you in the perfect time-space sequence, over and over and over and over again. It's become so ordinary and normal that you live in a state of almost constant delight, calm delight, and appreciation, gratitude and praise and blessing, deep satisfaction. And so we eagerly surrender ourselves now to this joyous, prosperous, healthy, life-giving, creative will, knowing it is better than anything we could even imagine. And we are coming from the place of, okay, I'm willing to see how great I can let it get, to see how easy and effortless I can let things unfold, to see how much joy I can allow myself to have, to build up my tolerance for joy, my tolerance for ease, offering ourselves now to this infinite source, our hands, our feet, our voices, asking, where would you have us go? What would you have us do and say, and to whom? Remembering now, as always, the way that we will know love and the way that we will feel love is by this limitless love moving through us to the world around us and right back to us. For this we are so thankful. And together we all say, amen. You might want to stretch a little bit. All right. So if you have any questions, jacobglass.com has my lecture schedule, my books, my Facebook, my Instagram, how you get MP3 recordings or CDs. We're still doing CDs through the end of the year. I am back here the first Saturday of every month. Go have a wonderful day. The sun is out.